Hey guys, what's up? Excoundrel here, and oh my word, that was a long update video that I just recorded. So I will timestamp hero changes and item changes, and you can go and look at the specific ones that you like. But overall, it is a big update. This is the biggest update Vainglory has ever done in terms of item changes and hero changes. So enjoy, I guess. Enjoy. Hey guys! Wow, it's been a while, hasn't it? I know, sorry, I've been away doing lots of things. Now, some of you might know, but my full-time job is in esports. I do commentary, among other things. The main game that I covered for most of my career has been League of Legends, and I have done a lot of League of Legends over the past maybe 2 or 3 months, and as such I've been playing a lot more League of Legends, and also have been going to a lot of League of Legends events. In September I was away for the whole month doing the EU Masters. If you don't know what the EU Masters is, it is a tournament that is just below the LCS level, and I was covering that alongside a couple of my colleagues. So I've just been way too busy to create content. Luckily, I've got the whole of October off, so the likelihood is that I'm going to be streaming starting next week on twitch.tv/Excoundrel. Might try and stream to YouTube, but Twitch are a bit funny about streaming to YouTube and Twitch at the same time, so I might just upload the VODs or highlights of the VODs if that guy's interested in that. I'll be playing League of Legends, I'll be playing PUBG Mobile, and I'll be playing Vainglory on stream. And also, I just haven't had time to play enough Vainglory recently because I've been away. I've been doing a lot of League of Legends stuff. So now I'm back at home, starting to play a bit more Vainglory, and the new patch is out, so it's a good time to restart things. And speaking of which, let's start with the new patch. It is a big one. It has Inara, so Inara is the new hero coming out in Vainglory. She is primarily a jungler, and I'm going to do a quick review of Inara, as well as some of the skins, and then we're going to go straight on to what matters the most, which is the balance changes. So this is just a small thank you saying thank you for waiting the extra couple of weeks while we sort everything out. I think it's good that they waited a couple of weeks. I think it's better to have the game in a good place before you just constantly release updates. And let's have a look. The Protector of the Forest. Dual glaives, movement speed, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so it's 7 days. They've changed the, important note, they've changed the 14 days back to 7 days because people complained about that. So 7 days is back to where it was before. Inara summons wisps around nearby treants, gaining vision and allowing her to leap to them. Killing a treant grants Inara movement speed boost for a few seconds. This is actually really strong, especially in 5v5, although it will also be strong in 3v3 because you'll be able to see the pathing of the enemy jungler. If you can get these wisps on the enemy jungler, you can actually just see where the enemy jungle is, or you can see when the enemy laner either invades your Treant or the enemy laner goes back to take their Treant. Vision in general is good, and Inara seems to grant you free vision around Treants, which are on the edge of the 5v5 maps and obviously in the center portion of the 3v3 map. So really, really good to A, keep track of the jungler, especially in 3v3, but B, in 5v5 give you a lot more information on the side of the maps, especially if people are looking to go for turret dives, also really important. Inara spins with her blades and dealing damage to slowing nearby enemies. Just an AoE slow. It's pretty good. It's one of those things where Inara's going to have to dash in and use this to slow the enemy down. It's part of her engage. Inara leaps backwards and kicks enemies away, dealing damage and summoning a wisp on affected enemies. She may leap to a marked target enemy she kicked for the next few seconds. Enemies knocked into a wall are stunned. That's a really cool ability. If anyone's seen a Kali from League of Legends, it's a similar thing where she marks a target and she can leap to them. I like this a lot. It's going to allow her to make some really cool teamfight movements. You can pick someone off, kick them back into the team, leap to them, do your dash with your A, your spin with your A, and slow the entire enemy team and deal a lot of damage. I really like this ability. She definitely feels like an assassin type jungler. Or a brawling type jungler. She'll either be an assassin where you go all out damage, or she'll be like more of a sustained brawler, so you kind of build her half tanky. Inara rallies nearby allies, granting them movement speed. Reactivate this ability to dash in a target direction, dealing it. So it's like Sivir Ultimate in League of Legends, which is where you give your entire team a movement speed buff. It is an engage tool, so she basically has a push the button and go, a little bit like Fortress, you know, when he gives all of the movement speed to your allies. This is basically like just having a Fortress on your team with her ultimate. She just allows you to hit the button and everybody runs quickly, allows you to engage, so she's really one of those junglers that's going to allow you to just push the advantage when you need to do it. Having a quick look at the talents. Heals, I like that a lot, especially if you're in a clustered team fight. Knocks target further, a little bit like Arden's One Punch, but without the damage. And Sacred Warrior, gains invulnerability for a short duration whenever she dashes or leaves. That's going to be pretty strong. That's a cool skin, basically an avatar skin. And these are these new skins. That's the Flicker skin and is that a Maline skin? And I love this Idris skin, by the way, and I love this Glaive skin. Looks a little bit like Arcade Hecarim, which I guess is where they drew the inspiration from, but he looks awesome. Absolutely looks awesome. And I hope he has like a rainbow trail when he dashes. I also love this Idris skin. I like hats, by the way. I know everyone seems to hate hats, but I really like them. I think they're just kind of fun. And you can also see which hats apply to which heroes now. Unified all the lobbies in Brawl mode, which basically means all of the lobbies will look like your ranked draft lobby, where you can chat, which is nice. The dev streams returned if you follow the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Vainglory, every Wednesday, I think. Zekant and Emma Skywood, something like that. Emma, basically, she's really nice. They do a dev stream and they do it really well. And let's have a look at the bug text. Damage text now scales with the mount. Fix the bug where Tony's trash talk dealt damage twice. Okay. Grumpjaw now spits his target out upon casting teleport boots. So you can't do the max green teleport Grumpjaw ultimate. Teleport boots channel may be cancelled by stuns. Okay, that's good. Items with passive cooldowns now display on. Okay, yep. Fix the bug where the switching targets. Okay, fix the bug where jungle monster health bars could display incorrect. All single target abilities now display on model if activated without target selected. Fix the bug where the abilities could sometimes incorrectly display as being off cooldown and disconnecting and reconnecting. Okay, that's the major bugs I think people are concerned about is the bug where you stick on turrets and on terrain. But they're doing bug fixes, so that's the main thing. Right, let's jump into the hero and item balance changes, because this is a big one. I wish I brought a glass of water. I'm going to get a glass of water. Ta-da! As if by magic. Right. Overall meta. Jungle healing now counters upon taking damage from an enemy hero, so you can't take a Treant, engage a fight, and still have the Treant healing buff on you. Because that was something that you'd often do. Before fights broke out, you'd take the jungle healing Treant just to give yourself a bit of extra healing in a gank situation or in a team fight. I like that. It's a small change, but overall it won't make you have that extra little buff just because you are fighting near a Treant. Lane minions, 30% of gold bounty as ambient gold if killed by a non-hero. Durability changed to health instead of armor and shield. So are they just overall more tanky, like in terms of health? I'd have to double check what this actually means, but I'm just guessing they've gained more health, but overall it won't change things totally. Maybe they'll just be easier to clear as the game progresses. I'm guessing the minions will just be easier to kill as the game progresses because of that, but I'm not totally sure. So this is basically a little bit like the way Mobile Legends and Arena of Valor works, for instance. You get a portion of the minion gold if you miss the last hit. This is going to be much better for newer players, much better for less skilled players, because they're going to get extra gold when, they would be missing it because they can't last hit properly. It means that the game will be quicker for newer players because they'll be able to get their items quicker. If anything, I would have made this like 50%. I know that some people who are the higher skill tiers would say that's unfair. It punishes people for not being able to last hit. Or it punishes people for being able to last hit versus people who can't last hit, but still, 30 to 50% of the minion gold, you're still going to get an advantage if you can farm properly, so you shouldn't be too worried. But what this does do is it does overall increase the pace of the game, especially for newer players, which was an issue. Max hero stats, max cooldown reduced to 35%. That's really good because some heroes that stacked cooldown, and because of the power of clockwork, you were just getting cooldowns off so quickly. Like, Celeste was one of them. Celeste is one of those people that when she gets a bit of cooldown reduction, can just spam Heliogenesis, and it's really obnoxious to play against. So I think overall that's a good change. Armor and shielding is all up, so everybody's become tankier again, which is nice. So anybody that scaled from 20 to 70 now goes 35 to 100. Yeah, so basically, your tanky heroes are going to be tankier, and it's just going to make everybody a little bit more durable overall. It won't feel like you get shredded instantaneously, which is nice. I like the overall buff to armor, because basically, in terms of meta, what this means is that you are going to be less reliant on having to build armor and shielding, I guess, but it really depends on the item changes. We'll have a look when we get down there, but overall, you're going to be less reliant on having to build shielding and armor, and that's going to make you a bit more durable in team fights. 3v3 meta structures, outer turret damage, middle turret damage, all the turret damages are down. I'm guessing making it easier to tower dive if you want to. which will be favouring a more aggressive 3v3 meta. And this is all 3v3 meta. So is this jungle monsters in 3v3? Okay, jungle monsters in 3v3. Damage on Elder Treant is down. Big Bear damage is down. Gold Miner damage and Crystal Sentry damage is down. The healing is also down to compensate for that. But it also grants a barrier for 12 seconds, meaning if you take the healing Treant, that will give you a barrier, especially if you're in the middle of a fight. It's really, really crucial to get that. So the central Elder Treant will be a really important one to get in 3v3 fights. But overall, it means that you're not as reliant on sustain as a jungler in the jungle. So it also means it might open up jungling in 3v3 for people who aren't so good in the jungle, because you'll be less punishing, which means it opens up the meta in 3v3 jungling, and I like that. It basically means that a lot more things that would traditionally be hard to play in the jungle are going to be less punishing to play in the jungle now. General trickle gold is down, so you get less gold per second now, so maybe that compensates. That compensates a little bit for getting the ambient minion gold. And experience required per level down by a significant amount, but it scales up. So if you've got, well, it's technically 12 levels, isn't it? So you've got 10, 120, so it's 90 plus 100, it goes up by 120. That's 16 by 12, 160, 176, 192. So it scales up, basically. But it's easier to get to the earlier levels, essentially. So you're going to hit your earlier levels more quickly. It massively changes what levels you get in the jungle as well. I think you can probably get level 3 off 2 jungle camps now. But I'll have to double check. But basically, you're going to hit your early levels more quickly, which means if you power spike earlier, you're going to have a very limited window to utilize like level 2 power spikes, for instance. So it's going to be harder to get a massive advantage from level 2 all-inning now, because people are going to hit those levels more rapidly. So you can hit level 2 really quickly in the lane and then all-in at that point, but people will be able to catch up more quickly as well. Middle lane turrets permanently receive 33% reduced damage. So middle lane turrets are going to be reduced in damage. The health of all the turrets are going down. Damage of all the turrets is going down. So basically, damage of all turrets and health of all turrets going down. They want you to tower dive. They want the turrets to be easier to take. They really want 5v5 to be a quicker game mode than it currently is. The one thing that Vainglory has been doing throughout all of this year is trying to make 5v5 quicker. And to be honest, that's a good thing. A lot of people will say, I want it to be half-an-hour games. I want it to be like a proper MOBA experience on my phone. I agree, but it just doesn't suit the phone experience. I think Vainglory is better off making it so that it is a sort of 15 to max 20-minute game, because it's on a phone platform. People can't sit down and play 30 to 45-minute games on their phone. That's what League of Legends does. So they're really trying to increase the pace of the game here by making it easier to get objectives, and it will, as a result, make it easier to tower dive and snowball as well. So snowball will definitely be a thing that will be maybe hard to come back from. It really depends. Lane minions, Armly Destruction buff the minion damage goes down by 50%. Middle lane spawns an extra range minion and the wave timing goes down by 5 seconds. Captain Minion Aura basically increases outgoing damage because that compensates for this, but you can clear them quickly now. So the Captain Minion isn't going to mess up how you CS under turret, but it will do more damage now. They will do more damage. You have to be careful of minion aggro, but it'll be easier for you to clear the minions because they will take the same damage all the time, which I like, because I always struggled CSing under turret sometimes when a Captain Minion came along. So now it's going to be more consistent to help you CS, especially under turret. Melee damage down, range damage down. Okay, so all of the damage is actually down for minion waves, and that compensates for the lower turret health. So it just means that the minion waves themselves aren't going to crush your turrets because the turret health is down. But what the minion waves will do with the Captain Minion when it comes in means preserving and utilizing Captain Minions on wave becomes more tactical, and also building big minion waves alongside those Captain Minions is going to be important for you creating side lane pressure. So this kind of had to happen, I guess, because, well, let's have a look what the percentage they reduced. I mean, that's like a 20% reduction. So that is, in the early game it goes down, but it scales up more quickly. So it scales pretty heavily as the game goes on. Basically, they don't want you to have the minions in the early game demolishing you. So the minions in the early game will deal less damage to structures, but in the late game, they'll start to deal more damage, and utilizing those captain minions can actually single-handedly win you the game, which means split push could actually genuinely become a proper win condition, because it's something that was very hard to activate in Vainglory. But with the scaling up minion damage and the captain minion aura, as well as the lower structure health, in the late game, so basically the same thing, the whole ethos that would be going along here, they really want 5v5 games to end a bit more rapidly. And in the late game, using minion waves to your advantage can really help. Gold is up for melee minions, down for ranged minions, up for siege minions, up for captain minions. This is basically reverting and just reducing the experience, because the experience required per level has also gone down in the early game. But this is reverting some of the changes they made. They wanted to reduce the gold flow, now they're increasing it again. They want you to have gold. They want you to hit item spikes more quickly. You're going to be hitting like 2 tier 3 items by 10 minutes if you're farming really well. You know, at this rate, given how much gold you're getting from captain and siege minions and stuff, as well as the 15 gold increase in the melee minions. This is a massive shift. This is basically going to be accelerating late game. I think it's going to be quite hard in 3v3 to utilize early game compositions, just because it's so easy to accelerate to late game items. However, because the turrets are easier to dive now, if you've got an aggressive early game composition, it might actually work out for you. But in solo queue, I'd be more tempted to now pick late game carries in general, as long as you're confident in your CS ability and your ability to survive the laning phase, because you will get your gold and your items much more quickly. Monsters try to stay in the jungle. Yeah, sometimes the jungle monsters went on a bit of a wander around the entire map. The first spawn is down, which means that, again, they don't want laners taking or sharing jungle camps, and they want laners to make the decision between minions and jungles. All jungle respawns are down, basically meaning that junglers won't feel lost on the map for as long, because there was something that was a big issue for junglers. You often cleared your jungle and then you didn't have anything to do, so now they're all down to 100 seconds. The Orb Guardians are at 120 seconds, so it's 100 seconds for every camp. The Orb Guardians are 120 seconds. Just got to make sure you time those correctly, and it means you'll be able to farm more efficiently as a jungler. Gold is up, gold is up, gold is up, gold is up. Okay, so basically more income for junglers. Experience is all up as well. So experience is up, experience down, 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 down. So experience on the healing treants is up. Experience on the central jungle camps is down. I guess just to balance that, and again to try and try to make sure the junglers don't get over leveled, because remember the level required, the experience required to get levels now is much lower. So is it 64? 64 for the first level. So Orb Guardian and a camp will get you to. Orb Guardian and a camp will basically get you 2, and it'll be a little bit easier to get 3. Slow duration down to 0.5 seconds. Weapon damage amp from 4 to 15%, so it's not going to be ridiculous in the early game. I like that. Crystal Orb damage amp down, so they're not going to be as impactful, but still going to be useful. New Healing Treants, Orb Guardians, and Gold Oak heal 150 to 300 and recharge 50 to 100 over 12 seconds. I'm guessing recharge is energy. Healing Treants counter barrier. Okay, so you can take a Healing Treant and then head to the lane to gank, which is good if you're very quick at doing it. And the Orb Guardians and the Gold Oak healing as well means that low sustain junglers are going to have a bit of a better time now as well. So again, trying to make it so that the jungle is more open to other heroes in the 5v5 meta too. Right, let's have a look at the changes for all the heroes, because I mean, my god, there is an absolute load to get through here. They've literally changed every item in the game. There's new items. Oh my god. Okay, right. I'm just gonna. Let's just get through this, guys. I'm trying to make this quick. I thought it was going to be long, but I'm trying to make it quick. Execute damage is up in the early game, but down in the late game. I'll look at the whole changes first before I make any decisions. And also it depends on the item changes. So anything that I tell you about these heroes, take with a pinch of salt until I look at the item changes as well. Up in the early game, down in the late game. Cooldown up consistently across the board. Damage crystal ratio down. Reactivation window up, giving you a little bit more time to consider whether you want to jump to your target or not. Eviscerate, reactivate. Crystal range is down. Cooldown is up, crystal ratio down. Cooldown is up, crystal ratio and base damage down. Crystal ratio and base damage down. Multiple hit damage is up. Okay, Overall, Anchor nerf. Obviously. This is an overall Anchor nerf. It is a pretty significant nerf for Anchor. Her damage is going to go down consistently. However, with the change to her ultimate here, she is designed to be more of a well-placed, all-in hero. So this is basically making it so that it is much harder to get those absolute one bombs with Anchor. It is still definitely possible. You still have missing health percentage damage. You still have pretty heavy damage coming out from Shimmer Blade as well as your Dance of Blades. However, this is overall a massive nerf to Anchor. They're trying to make it so that you place your ultimate more thoughtfully, so that your clones hit the same target because the multiple hit damage has gone up. So you'll have slightly more burst if you can place this properly on your ultimate, but everything else is down. This is a massive nerf to Anchor. She's still going to be useful in certain situations. Still going to be very useful in certain situations because she's still an assassin, very mobile assassin, and she'll be very good against the likes of Celeste, very good against the likes of Scarf in a mobile weapon power carries. It just means that she has her place now as opposed to just being ridiculously strong, because a lot of people complained about how strong Anchor was, but this is a big nerf to Anchor. We'll have a look at the items and see what's compensated for. Barrier duration down, duration on Gauntlet is down as well. That barrier duration is actually huge, because when you built a lot of health in Arden, often they wouldn't even be able to burst through the Vanguard barrier. The fact that it is down to 2 seconds, and I don't know whether that's the speed boost or just the barrier itself, I'm assuming it's just the barrier, but regardless, that is a huge nerf to Arden. That is half the duration on this barrier, which means you have to be much more precise about when you want to use the barrier, and when it drops off, that target is going to be vulnerable again. The duration on the Gauntlet going down to 6 seconds in the late game is awful. Like, it really is. This is actually a pretty significant nerf to Arden, but he was pretty much a standard pick in almost every situation. He still be decent. Like, don't get me wrong. Arden will still be decent, but this is a big nerf across the board. It definitely might knock Arden out of top tier right now, especially this barrier duration nerf. That's huge. That's a 50% barrier duration nerf. It just means you have to be much more precise. And the Gauntlet duration at the late game, that was one of the main ways to keep people locked in for a long period of time while you set up a fight. The fact it's now only at your level 2 one when you level it up to level 3, that hurts. That hurts a lot, definitely. Definitely hurts a lot. But Arden still obviously will be decent because he's still a great peeling support and also a good tank top laner. But just he's definitely taken a hit here, guys. Big hit. Baron. Porcupine Mortar energy cost up. In the late game, down in the early game. I mean, nerfing CP Baron's late game, making CP Baron's early game slightly more bearable. I don't know, like, and just doesn't, yeah. Apparently CP Baron was worth a nerf in the late game. But it doesn't really matter. I mean, 20 energy in the late game is not so bad. You usually have enough energy regen by that point. And the reducing in the early game gives him more consistent wave clear and more reliable and sustainable wave clear. So even for weapon power Baron, that's pretty good actually. Merciless Pursuit, bonus movement speed is overdriven. It gives you bonus movement speed for 2 seconds. Stun window now matches bonus movement speed duration. Okay, so the window to stun basically is always going to be 1.5 seconds and 2 seconds overall. So basically gives you a little bit more time to work with. Basically 33% more time to work with when you overdrive this. Which actually might make it worth overdriving over her ultimate, which we'll have a look at now. Damage down, silence duration. Yeah, I would say that trading off a 0.5 second silence for a consistent extra 2 seconds ability to move into the right position to stun is worth it. So I would be overdriving B and A now and wouldn't bother overdriving her ultimate. Simply because the nerfs make it maybe not worth it. Catherine might be an overdrive B, overdrive A situation now. Heliogenesis energy cost down in the early game, up in the late game. There's a bit of a theme coming here, guys. I'm wondering whether early game energy regeneration has been nerfed in the items, but we'll have a look. And late game energy regeneration is up, maybe. Because there's a bit of a theme going on here. Energy cost for Core Collapse is now 0 when overdriven. I mean, that wasn't really that much of an issue. And Solar Storm energy cost is up. So 0 cost for Core Collapse energy. I mean, energy. I don't think energy was that big of a deal, but maybe when we have a look at the items, take this with a pinch of salt. If energy regeneration has been nerfed overall, then this could be a big deal. If energy regeneration has been nerfed pretty consistently. If energy regeneration is still good, then this doesn't mean as much, and neither does this late game increase and this late game increase, but we'll see. Hook and Chain cooldown up again, and Trespass cooldown up again. I mean, Churnwalker was in a strong position, especially in 3v3. Nerfs definitely needed. 5v5, he was also getting played quite a lot. I think they went overboard on the Churnwalker buff to try and make him relevant in 5v5, and as such, they made him very toxic in 3v3. Grumpjaw. CP damage... CP scaling, but base damage down. CP scaling up, but base damage down. Okay, so basically, like, you need to build a bit of CP to make Grumpjaw, because he was pretty ridiculous as a tank top laner. The damage he did was pretty insane, so I agree with these changes. Damage increase on Hangry, which is... Yeah, okay, so his damage increase on Hangry, which is B, so the one that gives him the extra basic attack damage. Plus 90% CP. Basically just trying to make it so that you build more damage on Grumpjaw. Tank Grumpjaw is not going to be this insane high base damage dealer anymore. Kind of nerfs his jungle a little bit. But overall, basically you have to build him a bit more aggressively to get the same kind of damage out of him. And if you build him very aggressively, that damage will go up compared to where it was previously. Down to 100 again. So I'd have to look at the items and see how that's relevant. But this would only be relevant, I think, if they've changed items sort of significantly enough that it means that there are other items that maybe get him to the crystal power or weapon power required for divergent paths. Because I think Sora Blade and Shatterglass are still going to do it anyway, but we'll see what happens when we get to the items. Jewel takes 35% damage when hit from the front or sides. Oh, she doesn't... Ah, right, so it's not armor anymore. It's not about armor or shielding. She just takes a flat 35% reduced damage. I like that. Yeah, no, that's good. That scales really nicely. Especially in the early game, that'll make Jewel a little bit more durable. Might be hard to actually to battle Jewel in a laning phase now, actually. Jewel might be a relevant laner. Energy cost down, up in the late game. Energy cost down, up in the late game, energy cost... There's a theme here. I'm thinking there might be something going on in the energy regeneration, but we'll have a look. I can't really comment on Kestrel, because these are just energy changes. It makes her more energy hungry in the late game. Maybe it means that she needs to be more reliant on energy regeneration, but she always was reliant on energy regeneration, so we'll see what happens when we get to the items. Blood Rush, duration down. Damage down overall and scaling down. Damage down overall and scaling down. Empowerment duration down to 4 seconds. Empowered basic attack damage up. And the CP is up. Okay. So, the burst damage on Twirly Death is up. The problem is, you can no longer Twirly Death. And then, so you can no longer Twirly Death and prime your basic attacks, wait for the Twirly Death to come off. So what you would do with Koshka is you would Twirly Death, get 2 primed basic attacks, find a fight, land those 2 basic attacks, Twirly Death again, and get another 2 basic attacks. You can't do that anymore. You have to use it in the position that is relevant. So you can't prime Koshka's basic attacks. I mean, you still can prime Koshka's basic attacks for when you pounce in, but you will not be able to get the instant reset on them, which was one of the main reasons that you did it. And if you prime it, you're also losing the damage that you get from Twirly Death when you use that ability when you jump in as well. However, the damage is up and the scaling is up. It's almost doubled in the late game. So it means it is more impactful. You get the kind of damage that you would have got from 4 basic attacks in 2 basic attacks, and that might be enough to make Koshka remain, strong, as well as the fact that the overdriven is up by, you overdrive it, you get 60 extra basic attacks. So this is definitely 100% still what you overdrive first on Koshka. She's going to be a lot more burst heavy. Very, very burst heavy damage, especially on those basic attacks. Aftershock is going to hit like a truck. It just means you can't prime basic attacks anymore, but she's got more burst in her basic attacks at this point, which is quite scary. Deadman's Rush cooldown is up across the board until you overdrive it. Barrier is down, up, sorry, so the barrier is up, and the barrier duration is down. So he gets more of a barrier, but it lasts less time. And the cooldown is up, so his A cooldown is up in the early game. It means he has to be more specific about when he uses it. Damage reduction per stack is down. and lifesteal per stack is up. So you're not going to become as crippled. I think you get 8 stacks, so your damage reduction... I mean, that's massive nerf, by the way. That's absolutely ridiculous nerf. That's going to... Because you felt kind of useless when Cruel got 8 stacks on you or whatever. You felt kind of useless. So you're maxing out now at what, like 20% is that? Is that 20% damage reduction? So actually that's not bad for the person that he's attacking. They're going to feel a bit... they're going to feel a bit less threatened by the Cruel. However, his lifesteal going up means he'll be able to sustain off them if he can get those basic attacks in. And from Hell's Heart's cooldown is up in the early game. So basically making Cruel less obnoxious to play against for people, and it means that you have to be in position to basic attack more frequently to make the best use out of him. God, I'm needing a break through this. This is getting heavy. Principal Arcanum. Heavy attack crystal ratio up, heavy attack slow, plus bonus health. So there's no slow, but you do get a slow from building bonus health. So if you're a CP Lyra, you're going to deal more damage. There's more burst damage coming from it, but you no longer slow, and it only comes from your bonus health. So I'm guessing if you build support Lyra, you're going to get the slow more effectively. If you play CP Lyra, you're not going to get the slow, and it's not going to be an obnoxious slow that you constantly get hit with very heavy hitting basic attacks over and over again. Damage over time crystal ratio down, detonate damage is down overall. So they were really worried about this heavy trend of CP Lyra coming out, and they've said, well, we're going to give you an extra 40% on your basic attack so you can hit people with that big basic attack, which, to be honest, isn't bad. That is a very good lane bully tool, but the easier part of the Lyra kit to work with, which was the Imperial Sigil, is getting nerfed. So overall, like, CP Lyra will still deal decent damage, especially on the basic attack, but the Imperial Sigil, which was used primarily as a poke tool, has been nerfed. Also, the slow removed from the basic attack is a bit of a bummer, but whatever. Attack range down. Oof. Slow down. Slow duration down. Yeah. Just trying to make Malene a little bit less oppressive, I guess. She's one of those carries that can be really difficult to deal with, especially once she gets Aftershock. Her attack range was pretty long for a CP carry. She's now going to be a bit more of a short range mage, or at least a shorter range mage. Still think she's good though. Still think Malene's great. Munions, I mean, who cares? That's literally the most irrelevant change I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, it's just irrelevant. I guess it's not that irrelevant. I suppose, like, your Munions will spawn from your little seeds a little bit further away. Frostguard. Fortified health, all damage generates fortified health. So they've basically reverted it. They were like, nah, Rhyme still sucks. Let's give all damage generated fortified health. Fortified health cap goes up to 20% though, and fortified health versus non-heroes is 20%. So he's not going to be like unkillable in the jungle. Although Rhyme in 3v3 jungle, Rhyme in 3v3 in general is a lot better. Rhyme's going to be solid in 3v3. Yeah, 3v3 Rhyme's going to be a god, definitely, I think. I still think Rhyme's difficult to play in 5v5, just because of the way that he's so easily CC'd down, but we'll see. Scarf, energy cost, okay, again, the same theme. I'm not going to talk about these energy cost things. I want to see the energy changes. Ooh, Taka, this is some big changes. House Kamuha, duration down. Charge time, also down. I think, yeah, so from 4 to 0.4 seconds. Empowered basic attack damage is down in the early game, up base in the late game, but the scaling is down. So his duration is down and the charge time also is down here. So basically they've nerfed his passive quite heavily. Especially for weapon power attacker. He's not going to be as oppressive to play against. Damage on Chitin is... base damage is down but is up in terms of CP scaling. X-Retsu. Base damage down, up with scaling. Bleed damage down, up with scaling. Basically they're putting Taka back into the glass cannon box. You can't play tank Taka anymore. You have to play him the way you played him previously with lots of CP. But if you do play him previously with lots of CP, he's going to do a lot of damage in the late game. So late game Taka actually looks pretty scary, and I would be concerned because this value here and this value here means CP Taka is back in the late game especially. Vox. Sonic Zoom, energy cost down. Okay, we're just gonna ignore energy costs for the moment until we get to the items. The bonus bounce damage is also down. Okay, so a little nerf to CP Vox, but overall, not much changes to Vox. He'll still be good. Vox is always going to be good. Vox is just Vox. Right, item changes, which make up the majority of this page. Wowie. Right. Aftershock, total cost is up, crystal power is down, max health damage is down, proc lifesteal is down, cooldown is down, energy recharge is down. So yeah, energy recharge across the board is going down right now, which means that managing your resources looks like it's going to be far more important as a CP carry. Managing your resources, especially in the late game, with all of the late game nerfs to energy costs, you are no longer going to have infinite energy. That was the thing, you built Clockwork, you had infinite energy, and you never ran out. Now you've actually got to manage your energy, which means people like Celeste, people like Scarf, they are all going to have to be very wary about how much they spam their abilities. CP Baron, I get the feeling this is going to be the theme of these items, but we'll see when we go along. Massive nerf to Aftershock, though. Aftershock was one of those problem items that it was just too strong for certain heroes. This is still going to be good on Koshka, still going to be good on Taka, still going to be good on any sort of tanky hero that wants to get the max health damage down. But, and with the cooldown going down means you'll be able to proc it more often. Therefore, it's going to be better on people with very low cooldown abilities that can proc Aftershock more readily, every 1 second or so. Don't think that's going to change for too many heroes, but overall a massive nerf to Aftershock. And with the cost going up as well, that compensates for the fact you're going to get gold more quickly as well. So maybe this is going to be the case with all items with cost going up because you're getting gold more quickly. I do think the late game is still going to be accelerated. I mean, this 200 gold is what, about like a minion wave maybe, like a minion wave and a half or something. So you're still going to be getting an accelerated late game, but a massive nerf to Aftershock means it's not going to be the same oppressive item that it was, but it's still good on the heroes that it was good on previously. But you now might have more of a decision to make about scaling and whether I want Aftershock. Aftershock for that immediate burst damage, a slightly cheaper item, it's going to be better against high health targets, which is what it was always supposed to be designed for. It's supposed to be a tank shredding CP item. Or I go Shatterglass for the straight up burst damage from my scaling. Alternating current, crystal power down, so overall alternating current carry is just getting a random nerf. People like Vaya, CP Vox, anybody that uses alternating current is going to just feel a little bit of a nerf here. Aegis, reflex block plus war mail. Okay, so that changes the build path of Aegis. Total cost is down by 50, health is down, armor is up, shield is down by a significant amount, and the cooldown is up by 10 seconds. 50 shield nerf to Aegis. I'm going to hold judgment until we see maybe that there might be some other shielding items brought in here. But this means that Aegis is no longer basically Aegis is not just the shielding item, it's armor and shielding in equal values, and it's a reflex block with armor and shielding in equal values. It's primarily designed for the reflex block, not for the defenses. So you pick it if you want the reflex block activatable, because the armor values that you get from it are not the best, and the shielding values that you get from it are not the best. With the base changes to shielding, yes, you'll probably still feel a significant amount of defense from this particular item, but it's no longer the go-to anti-CP item, and I'm assuming there's a new item that will bring that in. So this is now primarily what I think it was supposed to be designed for, the upgrade of a reflex block, and that's it. It is an upgrade of a reflex block, and you get some resistances that are equal across the board. Really good change if they've brought in a CP defense item, which I assume they have. Armor down, shield 0, cooldown up. So Atlas Pauldrons has to be more specific when you use it. It is no longer an item that will share shield, and armor is down, maybe to compensate for all the base armor changes. And again, it is an item that brings utility to a teamfight as opposed to being strictly a big tanky defensive item. And again, it's going to be good against high attack speed carries. It always will be. Atlas Pauldrons will always be a great item versus high attack speed carries. Barbed Needle, weapon power down to 10. Lifesteal up. So what I get the impression from Vainglory's item changes so far is that they are trying to create a unique identification for each item. Atlas Pauldron is an armor anti-attack speed carry item. Reflex block is there, with Aegis is a reflex block item designed for the reflex block passive. Barbed Needle is not a weapon power item. In reality, it's a lifesteal item. So this is what I get. They're kind of creating a unique identification for all of their particular items. Bonesaw, weapon power up, armor PS up. Your basic attacks now shred 10% of the target's armors for 3 seconds, max 4 stacks, plus the armor PS. So Bonesaw is back on the menu for late game carries versus high armor. Nice. Bonesaw is definitely an item you will be wanting to build in your weapon power carry builds, especially if they are going lots of armor. I'll see if there's any changes to Breaking Point here, because the Bonesaw Breaking Point combo could be really strong. Book of Eulogies, Lifesteal, and Life Restore. So overall, your passive lifesteal is going up, but the Life Restore for last hitting minions is going down, meaning that you're no longer able to completely and infinitely sustain off a Book of Eulogies. Nice. Really love this change. 65 was ridiculous. It just meant you could take punishment for free. It also means that 1v1 laning matchups, where you have the advantage as a ranged versus melee matchup, means that you are going to have to be more careful, and the 1v1s might actually become a thing. It might be more about your individual skill in the lane now. Breaking Point. Total cost up by 100 gold, weapon power down. Gain 5 weapon power for every 100 weapon damage done to enemy heroes. Plus 5 for melee, 10 for... I'm not sure if that's supposed to be the other way round. So plus 5, 10 melee range. I think that means ranged melee, because Breaking Point has always been better for melee. Needed for their stack thereafter. Oh no, for the stack. Okay, I literally didn't read the rest of the sentence. I'm an idiot. You need plus 5 for each stack thereafter. 35 stacks max. Decays 5 stacks per second. So Breaking Point basically now needs to ramp up much more, but you don't need as much extra weapon power damage to get the stacks. You should realistically be gaining a stack every basic attack or so, and obviously you'll be able to gain multiple stacks in one go as well, and it goes all the way up to 35 stacks. Decays 5 stacks per second after you've stopped attacking for 2.5 seconds. So that is difficult. I think it's an overall nerf for Breaking Point, but again, you combine that with Bonesaw, you've actually got a really strong 1-2 combo. Breaking Point Bonesaw seems like a really good combination. Broken Myth, Shield Pierce up, Crystal Power down. Again, it's supposed to be the piercing item. They're really making that into its bubble. Capacitor Plate is Dragonheart plus Warmail. Total cost up, health and down. Bit of a nerf to Capacitor Plate, but obviously will still be relevant for the carries that it is relevant on, like Arden, like any of the healing carries, anything like that. Oh, so the supports, whatever. Chronograph. Cooldown reduction up, energy recharge down, and as a result, Crystal Power on Clockwork is down, max energy is down, and energy recharge is down. Clockwork still seems like the go-to item for cooldown reduction, and combined with the fact that it has got still got a decent energy recharge, but my god, energy recharge is getting hit really hard, really hard. So obviously in the late game, you're no longer going to have infinite resources. I do love this change. I did feel like things like Celeste, you could just spam your A and get away with it. Now you can't. Really interesting. Really interesting, and I think it's a good change, because it felt very oppressive to play against those types of carries in the late game where they could just consistently spam an ability and there was no repercussion for it. Coated Plate's armor is down, shielding is gone. So they are making individual defense items. So no longer can you pick up like an Aegis, well obviously Aegis is both, but no longer can you pick up one of the armor or the shielding items and that be your sort of mixed resistances, with one of them just being more than the other. No, you build armor or you build shielding now. Contraption, energy recharge is down, that's for 3v3. Total cost is up, cooldown is up. Okay, so they're basically making the choices that you make have more consequences if you get them wrong. And that's a pretty significant nerf to the timing on Crucible, especially in 5v5. Crystal Bit, Crystal Power down. Okay, you could stack Crystal Power. You could basically stack Crystal Bits and they would be really cost effective. I'll wait until we see the rest of the changes, but maybe they're just reducing Crystal Power overall. So some scaling has gone up on carries, but actually Crystal Power on all the items seems to be going down. Bonus Crystal Power, bonus cooldown reduction, and Armor and Shield. So Armor and Shield and cooldown reduction are up or staying the same, and Crystal Power is down. So they're bringing a little bit of defense and utility back to the infusions and reducing their overall power. Dragonheart health down, okay, whatever. Dragon's Eye, interesting icon. Crystal Power down, gain 10 Crystal Power each second you max. You damage enemy heroes after 5 seconds, lose 3 stacks, 15 stacks max. So you gain maximum 150 Crystal Power from Dragon's Eye, which I think is actually a significant nerf from the way it was previously. That literally means that you have to spend 10 seconds damaging a hero to get a Shatterglass out of it. And even then, you're still making up a deficit on Shatterglass. So you only get 75 CP over a Shatterglass, and that's 10 seconds after you... I mean, it's great for sustained heroes, but it's no longer, like, infinitely better than a Shatterglass. Eclipse Prism is down. Energy Battery, Energy Recharge is... Oh my god. Yeah, rip buying Energy Battery in the early laning phase. That's why the energy cost of all those heroes' early games has gone down, because Energy Battery is got nerfed pretty heavily. Damn. You have to be way more careful about using your abilities in lane now, and in the late game. Eve of Harvest. Why? Okay. Alright. Alright, so nerf except for the lifesteal. So they're trying to make Eve of Harvest the lifesteal item. If you need a CP lifesteal item, it's supposed to be Eve of Harvest, but everything else about it has been nerfed. It was still a pretty crappy item on 5v5, but maybe the lifesteal is good enough to make it relevant, especially if you're relying on sustained damage. Maybe combo's okay with Dragon's Eye, if you're looking for a sustained damage fight. Total cost, crystal power, slow, and duration down. Duration up, slow down, crystal power down, total cost up. Nerfed. I mean, they're nerfing all the items, it seems, just to make them maybe like your one item power spikes. Your one item power spikes are definitely going to feel less impactful now, or at least they're not going to be as heavy hitting as they were previously. This change here also means that Idris can't get his passive off Frostburn straight away. Fountain of Renewal, total cost up, health up, armor down, armor 20 to 20. That's. I'm assuming it's been nerfed because shielding has been nerfed. I'm wondering if it's like armor to 0. I'm wondering if they've just put armor to 0. I think that's supposed to be 0. Shielding now to 60 and cooldown up 10 seconds. I mean, Fountain's still going to be a good item because of what it does. You can't really replace Fountain. The best thing they could do for Fountain is remove it from the game. but it's still a very core item, especially on 3v3. But it will still have its place in 5v5, absolutely. Halcyon Charges. Total cost down, max energy down, energy recharge down, movement speed up, cooldown down, sprint duration down. Bit of a nerf to Halcyon Charges, especially the energy regen, as we know that's getting nerfed across the board, but the movement speed going up means it's a bit better passively. Heavy Prism, crystal power down. Heavy Steel, weapon power down. Hourglass, okay, we all know this has happened. This is just, they're reducing the power of these items and reducing power of items overall. Journey Boots cost down, max health down, cooldown up. Cooldown upon damaging an enemy hero is down. Still, Journey Boots are still going to be... I mean, what can you say about them? They're irreplaceable. They're one of those items that is very difficult to replace. Kinetic Shield, no armor, shielding. Okay. Again, we've talked about this. You're not getting the mixed resistances on these items now. Life Spring, health down. Lucky Strike, critical strike chance down. So, interesting, they're nerfing critical strike chance. We'll talk about that if we see the later items. Metal Jacket, armor down, total cost up, and shielding gone. Passive reduces incoming damage from basic attacks by 10%. The anti-basic attack, the anti-late game weapon power carry item. This is what Metal Jacket is. I love the fact that they've added a passive to it because it makes it a more interesting item. Like, just making it a random armor unit feels bad, so I love this. It is the anti-basic attack tank item. Energy recharge down again across the board. Health values going down, and energy recharge going down. So the tanky heroes are going to be less tanky, is what it seems like. Health down. Piercing shield? Okay, so what it seems to be is that they are reducing the power spike of tier 2 items, but a lot of the tier 3 items will have their individual unique pigeonholes made more powerful. So the upgrade from Piercing Shard to Broken Myth is a bigger leap now, but you can't just buy a Piercing Shard and get the same level of magic penetration or the shield pierce from it. Again, Poison Shiv being classified primarily as a lifesteal item. Pulse Weave, health down, cost up, damage... burst damage is worse in the early game. You need some more health to make it work, but that should scale up actually pretty quickly. The slow is down but scales up. So again, Pulse Weave, not as good early game item. You can't just buy it first item on a Tony or a Flicker and just start like hitting kids for crazy amount of damage. It scales up. It will still be a good engage tool for the slower carries or the slower tanks and supports that don't have a good engage tool of their own. Reflex block health down. The barrier is just a flat barrier now. I'm unsure how that stacks up against the field, but it feels like that's going to be an overall reduction in barrier, and the cooldown is up. So again, you have to be more careful about when you use your reflex block. Build Heart is Dragon Heart plus War Mail. Total cost is 2,400 health down, armor and shield. So you get armor and shield on Rook's Decree. No energy recharge. Cooldown reduction is 5%, and the cooldown is 10 seconds. Bit of a nerf for Rook's Decree, but it's now more of a tanky item. The cooldown reduction nerf and the energy recharge it's a bit of a feels bad man, because this was an item that someone like Lyra did really well with, and that's going to be less of a good item for Lyra overall. Scout Pack, energy recharge down. Serpent's Mask, any weapon power down again. Damage storage down. Did Serpent's Mask have a damage storage? I feel like that's supposed to be on Eve of Harvest. Have I missed something about Serpent's Mask? Unless they changed something about Serpent's Mask, I feel like this is a mistake. But they've increased the lifesteal on it, which I can assume is correct. And again, trying to make this the lifesteal item. Serpent's Mask is there for sustain. And it's not going to have the obscene power level that it had previously. Crystal power damage, crystal shatterglass damage down. So that makes Dragon's Eye changes a bit more bearable. It means you'll get about 100 more CP over Shatterglass with the Dragon's Eye over the course of 10 seconds. But Shatterglass is still good for burst damage. Shiver Steel health down, making everyone less tanky. Again, tier 2 changes to 6 sins, making it a little bit less of a hard hitter, even though it wasn't that big of a hard hitter anyway. Slumbering Husk, War Mail plus Kinetic Shield. The total cost is up. The armor is down, but the shielding is up. The cooldown is up. The burst threshold is up, and the burst window is down. And selling and rebuying. So Slumbering Husk is still a good item, but it's more about someone that's going to hit you for that one big attack, as opposed to just receiving a lot of damage over 1.5 seconds. It is also now an item that is better against CP carries, and CP carries primarily tend to do the burst damage. So this is putting Slumbering Husk as an item that's there, you know, supposed to be good against getting hit by a supernova from Celeste, good against the CP Tacker burst, good against the Anchor, for instance, and that's what Slumbering Husk is going to be ideally for. But it's still a good item, don't get me wrong. Slumbering Husk is still a good item, and probably is still applicable in a lot of situations. Sorrow Blade weapon power down, so again, limiting the damage of those items. Spellfire crystal power down, and the scaling, the base scaling on it is really good, but they've nerfed the percentage scaling on the damage that you get as the passive. I mean, this makes Spellfire like a pretty solid item for just like a random captain, for instance, that wants to pick this up to have the mortal wounds passive, like a CP captain, for instance. It makes it a pretty solid pickup there. It makes it a good pickup for sort of a 1 to 2 CP item carry, like Aftershock Spellfire, because the scaling has gone down, but the base damage has gone up. That actually gives you some late game scaling as like an Aftershock carry who wants to go like Aftershock Spellfire tank. But still, you know, I think Spellfire is still a good item here. Heavy Steel 6 Sings and Chronograph, the cost is only up by 50. Weapon power is down overall, and energy recharge is down. Not really much change here. A bit of a nerf to Spell Sword, but I mean, every item's damage is being nerfed so far. Storm Crown, your next basic attack will deal 140 to 480 bonus true damage, 25% effectiveness against heroes and structures. Does not stack with other Storm Guards. Cooldown reduction is up, and energy recharge is down. It's a 4-second cooldown. I mean, 25% true damage of 480 is what, 120? So you get 120 true damage in the late game. I need to test that to see how it is. I get the feeling it's going to be worse, though. I get the feeling it'll be worse. Energy reach. Oh wow, energy recharge is still good on Super Scout. This is actually quite significant because people like Lyra and people like I was going to say Nami, Lorelei, and sort of the sort of healing supports often used a lot of energy, and a lot of energy reduction, a lot of energy regeneration has been nerfed into the ground. But Super Scout, which encourages vision use, hasn't had its energy recharge nerfed that much. Maybe meaning that this is a good item to get on energy intensive supports, because A, it provides vision, and actually you still get a decent amount of energy recharge out of it. Tension Bow cost is up by a significant amount. Armor Pierce is up like crazy. And you will deal plus 124. Oh! Tension Bow is no longer like an early game stomp item. Tension Bow is no longer the early game stomp item. Tension Bow is a late game burst item. I mean, it still is a decent early game item, but I mean, they've reduced that used to be much higher, didn't it? That was much higher before. It wasn't 50 plus 125% of bonus weapon power damage. Because you don't get much weapon power from Tension Bow. Tension Bow scales. Tension Bow is not going to be an item that you pick up and one-shot people with at the sort of the level 6 mark anymore, level 5 mark. Tension Bow is a scaling burst damage item. That's really cool. I think that's going to have a lot of use. I think there's a lot of people that could use that really well. And it also means if you're a Tension Bow style weapon power carry, you're not going to fall off the face of a cliff. People like Glaive, where his weapon power build sucked with Tension Bow because he'd just fall off really quickly, not going to fall off as much. Attack speed up, critical strike chance is staying the same. I think that must be a mistake. I can only imagine it going down. I can only imagine it going down because they changed the lucky strike. So I can only imagine this is going down, but the attack speed's going up. So still got the same passive. I still think Tornado Trigger is a really good item. It's going to be great for Vox and great for Ringo still. I think there is you could go things like Sorrow Blade, Bonesaw, Tornado Trigger. You could go Sorrow Blade, Breaking Point, Tornado Trigger still. Yeah, that's good. Trouble Boots cost down. Tyrant's Monocle. Again, critical strike chance exactly the same. I can only imagine. Maybe it's going up. Maybe they're making critical strike, make critical strike great again. The damage amp's going up on it though. The weapon power overall is going down. It's a bit of a nerf to Tyrant's Monocle, but maybe they're making it so that when you crit, they're making it more like critical strike orientated. So I can maybe imagine this is going to be critical strike orientated going up. So maybe that's meant to be going up, but it definitely feels like they are again boxing items into specific categories. Like these are the ones that you want to go for critical strike. You don't go for them for the flat weapon power. Void Battery energy recharge is down. Overall, it's halved. That's pretty insane. 1 second. War Mail, light armor and light shield total cost. So it's basically like a mid-game shield and armor item. Okay, cool. War Treads, movement speed up. So the passive movement speed is up, which is cool. I think that's cool. I like that change. War Treads are still really good. Weapon power down. Weapon infusion down. Okay. That's the same thing that happened to the CB fusion. Right, so we've gone through all of that. Basically, the overall flavor is they are boxing items into specific categories. Serpent's Mask, Poison Shiv, Lifesteal. Tornado Trigger, critical. They are there for critical strike, not there for weapon power. They're nerfing the overall weapon power values and the overall CP values. Energy regeneration is down across the board, as well as health. So health, energy regeneration, and most resistances are down, meaning that you're going to be in general less tanky. The changes to resistances are slightly compensated because the base resistances have gone up. But the health overall going down means your frontline tanks aren't going to last forever either. They're going to take a significant beating in terms of their overall health values. It also means if you have abilities that scale off percentage max health, like Lyra's heal on her support build, she's also going to be receiving an indirect nerf here. One thing that I want to know though is what the frick does where is it? What the hell does this build into anymore? What does this even build into anyway? Does it only build into Slumbering Husk? So basically, you've got full metal, or just metal rather. Metal Jacket, which is the anti-basic attack item for armor. You've got Atlas Pauldron, which is the anti-attack speed item. You've got Slumbering Husk, which is the anti-CP and anti-burst item, but primarily anti-CP. And Reflex Block, or Aegis, which is the reflex block item. What I would have loved was an extra item to come off Kinetic Shield to give a bit more balance to what you can build versus CP. Maybe we'll see that down the line, because the addition of War Mail gives them more flexibility for going across the board. It also means that you need to stick to resistance when you build it, because that's the one you have to be more careful about which resistances you're building. It also means you're probably going to need 2 defensive items in a lot of situations, because you're not going to get the mixed resistances from the items anymore. So things like Slumbering Husk, Aegis is probably a good way of protecting yourself as a really squishy carry, but it does limit your overall build to 3 items. But with the changes to Bonesaw, for weapon power carries, that's not so bad. For CP carries, however, they now have to make a decision between going full 4-item CP carry or actually having the extra defense through Slumbering Husk. Overall, like, the early item spikes are not going to be as powerful, but you'll get more items quickly, so it might be compensated because the gold is going up in 5v5 in general. And late game carries are receiving a bit of a nerf. They'll get to their items quicker, but they have to be more careful about the way they use their energy, and their damage overall is getting hit. Which means it might be less obnoxious to play against these late game scaling these late game scaling carries when we get to late game, because overall they've been nerfed, their energy use has been nerfed, and their damage overall has been nerfed as well. But everybody is less tanky as well. So, you know, with the health items, it just means the front line will not be able to resist as much. But if you're a squishy carry going up against these carries, then you're going to survive longer. If you're a tank, you're going to survive less. Swings and roundabouts. Right, that was all of it. Wow, long video. I will be doing the meta update video, as well as I'm probably going to do some build videos as well. I'm also thinking about doing some League content. If you like League of Legends and you want to see me do some League of Legends content, please let me know, because I'd love to do League of Legends content, because I really like. If not, I'll start a new channel for it. But you guys can let me know in the comments. I'll see you soon.